Okay, nice easy one today. Understanding quadratic functions. So we're just going to talk about properties of quadratic functions and how to solve for specific points. Pick my color here. Okay, so here's our basic layout. F of x or y is ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is not 0, because if a was 0, then this x squared would cancel out and it would stop being quadratic. Okay. The graphical quadratic, hopefully you remember from last year, is a parabola. Which is just a fancy word for this curve shape here. Okay. We have some key points on here. Let's start with, let's just go top left. So this point here, same as a linear equation. You are going to have a y-intercept. And that point will always be where x is 0. And the y value of that will always be c, this constant at the end. So it's a lot like linear equations, except instead of the plus b, since we now have 3 terms, it's plus c. Okay, but it's still just the number all by itself at the end. All right, this one underneath it. Down here is the x-intercept. And that's also what you're going to hear is the solution. And if you notice, we don't have just one x-intercept. We actually have a second one on the other side. This is also an x-intercept, also a solution. Okay, so quadratic equation, depending on the layout, can either have 2 solutions, or it can have 1 solution, or it can have no solutions. So be ready for that. All the ones today, there's going to be 2 though, to keep it simple. This point here on the bottom, this is our vertex, which we've seen a little bit. And this in our parabola is our minimum or our maximum, depending on the graph. So like this one here, it opens upwards. So our vertex is our minimum point. If a was negative and it opened downwards, then our vertex would be the maximum. Okay? And our last one here, our dotted line. This is the axis of symmetry. So every parabola is perfectly symmetrical. You have stuff on the left, and then it's mirrored on the right side. And the axis of symmetry is always just this vertical line, and that's based on where your vertex is. So whatever the x value of your vertex, that's the equation of this line, just x equals that value. Okay? Second thing we need to do today is just to figure out points from a graph. So it's going to give you a table. It's going to pick the x values for you. Later on, we'll learn how to find the vertex without having to do all the work, and then you can pick your own x values. But for today, what they did is they took the vertex point, and they put that right in the middle. And they picked a couple numbers less than that, a couple numbers greater than that. And then anywhere you see x, you're going to replace that with the x in our function. It's like we say x is 0, so then it becomes f of 0 equals 2 times 0 squared minus 8 times 0 plus 4. Okay? And then you just solve that. So 2 times 0 squared is 0, minus 8 times 0 is also 0, plus 4 is 4. So one of the points on our graph has to be 0, 4. But we knew that already. One, we can see it right here. We also said the y-intercept, so when x equals 0, the y will always be this plus or minus at the end. But it doesn't hurt to do it. All right, our next one, 2 times 1 squared is 2, minus 8 times 1 is minus 8, plus 4. So 2 minus 8 is negative 6, negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. So we also have a point at 1, negative 2. And we can see that point, 1, negative 2. Okay. Then our vertex point, so 2 squared is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, minus 8 times 2 is 16, plus 4. So 8 minus 16 is negative 8, plus 4 is negative 4. So you have a point at 2, negative 4. We can check that against our graph. There it is right here. Okay, now if we did this correctly, our remaining answer should mirror what we've done already. So the answer for 3 should be negative 2, right? Assuming we did our work correctly. So 3 times 2 is 9, or 3 squared is 9, times 2 is 18. Negative 8 times 3 is negative 24, plus 4. So 18 minus 24 is negative 6. Negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. We did it. So we have 3, negative 2. And then our last one, 4 squared is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. Minus 8 times 4 is also 32. Plus 4 gives us positive 4. So you have 4, comma, 4. We filled out our table. We've got 5 points. They're also on the graph. So really, to do these is one or the other. Don't necessarily have to do both. You can either graph it and then find the points, or you can do the math and get your points that way. Okay, but for today, we're just looking at both so you can compare the two, so you can practice working it out, you can practice looking at the graph. Shouldn't be too difficult. Don't stress yourselves out too much. One other thing before we let you go here, keep in mind, unlike linear equations, even though x is going up by a constant amount, you notice that y does not change at the same rate. That's what gives us our nice curve here instead of a straight line, is because this rate of change changes all the time. It is no longer constant rate of change. All right, if you got questions, let me know.